Hey everyone, it's Chris here and we're playing Kerbal Space Program. Well, actually, we were already playing Kerbal Space Program because this is post commentary. This is entirely live post commentary. It's like you were already there. Um, when I was playing earlier, I was trying to build a rocket that would go to the moon. When I was playing this, originally on my computer, my new computer that I got, I'd installed Kerbal Space Program, and I played a little bit around with it, and unlocked quite a few things through the campaign mode. And I had just started to going back to the moon when my computer had died, and turns out that it was DOA. It was pretty much screwed, so I had to get it replaced. And when I got it back, I had got a brand new one actually, and it turns out the save files were completely useless, so I had to restart the game anyway. So here I am now, basically just trying to build something that'll go to the moon. I managed to get there one time before, but aside from that, it's been no luck. I managed to get things into orbit, but I hadn't had anything touch the ground. So, it was something of a self-challenge to me to just get back there and, pardon me, get back and land something there. Funny enough, I had absolutely none of my knowledge. Nothing had been retained ever since I played this game last. So I completely forgot how to make the perfect rocket, and I spend like a whole bunch of time just messing around with the design. And it looks like we're ready to have this thing take off in just a second. We got Bob at the controls there. Bob. We couldn't get Jebediah because he was too busy riding a shark in the Bahamas. And there we go, lifting us off. The KSP radical area is taking to the skies, and hopefully, just hopefully, we'll manage to get to the moon. Or die trying. Bob doesn't look too happy for us to start out with, but he'll get into it eventually. Same rules as always. If you keep on accelerating your rocket until around 8,000 meters, then you're going to want to take a hard turn to 90 degrees. Now, because of the watermark there, you can't exactly see that entire thing, but you can see me right here. I'm ready there to turn towards 90 degrees, holding there roughly a 45-degree angle. So that's 90 by 45. And our rockets are actually about to run out of fuel, so we're going to have to see if our main rocket, our Rockomax rocket there, can take us the rest of the way. And Bob is absolutely terrified. He knows that something's about to happen. And there goes the rockets, and disengaging. There we go. Perfect deployment of that rocket. Let's see where that's going to take us there. Okay. Okay, I just switched to docking mode there. That's not what I wanted at all, because I was trying to get the nav ball up in the map mode. There we go. We fixed that up. Realigning to our prograde because we want to accelerate enough so that we can get to orbit. If you can get to orbit, you're halfway to getting anywhere. I forgot exactly who said that, but I believe it was an astronaut or an astrophysicist. I'm going to cut ahead here again just because it takes so much time to achieve orbit. Okay, and that's a good sign. We're just about 100,000 meters. I tend to like to get around that sort of circa area because to me that's pretty good altitude where we can start burning and circularizing our orbit around Kerbin. The radical area is slowly approaching apoapsis. It's around there that our speed will sort of decrease, and if we fire our engines, we can pretty much get ourselves into orbit. Anyone who's played Kerbal Space Program, it's familiar with this. But a lot of people, I don't know, haven't really bought the game, and I recommend that you do because the game's incredibly fun and incredibly rewarding. It's hard. Okay, it's really hard, especially when you start out in career mode. You're given bare basics, and very likely, unless you know what you're doing, you're not going to get to orbit with the starting parts. You might get close to orbit, you may achieve a suborbital flight, but you're not going to get up there. And I'm running out of fuel, but I think we're going to be able to get to orbit at the very least. Oh, I might as well give it a try. We might get lucky anyway. Oh well. But like I was saying, it's going to take some practice. It's going to take some doing if you want to achieve orbit. And with stock parts, it's not going to be easy. So just for the fun of it, I suppose I just tried to see if we can get an orbit there, and we're using the navigation nodes there. And for counters to the moon, I want to try to get below 100,000 kilometers. Like there's 80,377, I think that was. That's pretty good. And I don't like to go too high because, pardon again, the moon doesn't have an atmosphere, so that means that there's no drag when I'm going in for a landing. So if I go in high and I plop myself down on the surface, I'm going to have an extremely high velocity. So the lower I am, the more I can control my descent and thus use less fuel in the process, having to fire retro rockets. Okay, here we go. We're going to fire up our engines, see how far we get. We're burning some fuel. But maybe by the grace of God we can get there if we just believe in ourselves. Come on, Bob, help us out here. No, I don't think we're gonna make it. Oh dear. That little twitch of anger there. I put so much time into thinking about that rocket, but this is all your fault, Bob. It's all your fault! So we're gonna go back and redesign our rocket. We're gonna have to modify it a little bit. I like the core design though, so it's mostly the delivery system. It's getting into orbit that's gonna be the problem. Once we get into orbit, it's not gonna be a problem to push ourselves to the moon itself. So what I did here is just basically have the double the size of the standard liquid fuel rockets there, and having a low center of mass means that, well, low center of mass means that it's more stable during flight. In my opinion, I'm not a rocket scientist, I'm not an aerospace engineer, I'm just a writer actually, but I'm going off of what I learned from secondhand research. Well, one of my favorite people to watch while playing Kerbal Space Program is, there's two people that I really love watching for Kerbal Space Program. One is Scott Manley, who I absolutely love his videos because it's taught me a whole lot about aerospace dynamics and how a rocket actually works, with a bunch of NASA factoids to boot. The other being Robaz, the King of Sweden. I know he doesn't refer to himself as that anymore, but he'll always be the King of Sweden to me. He's the one who actually convinced me to buy this game in the first place. So, okay, there's our monstrosity there. Let's get into orbit. Bob's at the wheel again. Lift off. There, a nice, smooth takeoff. And I don't think there was very much problems keeping this rocket stable during the actual flight itself. We headed to the point where I knew that the solid rocket boosters would run out of fuel first, so I make sure that when they're done, I can just jettison them and just go and coast on the liquids. And you see there, I'm just about to disengage them now, so we can coast on the liquid fuel. And our lower center of mass, of course, means that our rocket is going to be a little bit more stable during our ascent. Bob is terrified. Bob, what are you worried about? You're driving. So we managed to make it to orbit, and we're rocketing towards the moon. As you can see, we still have plenty of fuel, and you can even see on the moon over there, I already got a couple things on the actual surface itself. I think Jebediah is orbiting the moon. I don't remember for sure, but that's what I believe. I'm just going to stabilize our orbit there. There we go. That's a good approach. Here we go. There we go. We've been captured, and I think I most definitely slow ourselves down. So there's a Kerbal on the planet. I forget exactly who it was, but I think it's Jebediah that's orbiting the moon. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is Jebediah that's down there on the planet. Or that's on the moon. I don't know. I can't tell. That was one of the early things I did. Or hell, maybe he's still in orbit. I have to keep tabs on all my Kerbals. By this time of the recording, I put a couple more craft in orbit, and I managed to actually put a couple more things down on the moon, I think. So that's good. Within 10,000 meters. That's it's a little bit close for my liking because I know that there are some parts of the moon that jut up quite a few thousand meters below sea level, but it should be fine for us. Okay, so pointing towards our retrograde, they're slowing us down. This is what I was telling you earlier about being low enough so I can control my descent. It works for me though. Bob, of course, is absolutely confident in his ability to land on the moon. I don't think we're going to have any trouble. Gears down, and let's ready to plant this puppy. Okay, we're going to slow us down, slow us down, slow us down. You can't see the altimeter because of the watermark up there, but I can tell you that that altimeter is really getting nice and low. Of course, pulsing ourselves so that we're not going too slow so that it takes too long, but we're not going so fast that I know that we're not going to snap our legs. on landing. I think the sweet spot's about 12 meters per second. Okay, we're getting close enough that the ground scatter is easily visible. And usually I look for my shadow when I'm ready to put down on a surface. Oh, it looks like we're going to be landing near that rock. This rock is now going to be our base of operations. I'm going to build a base around this rock. I swear to God, I am. I'm going to call it like rock base or something. There we go, down on the moon. Actually, I was worried that the engine would get destroyed by the landing, but it seems that Bob's masterful piloting abilities have taken us down. Let's take a screenshot right there. And, of course, we have to get Bob out there in the nice Mooner non-air. They could take a stroll in the very merry month of December, or is it May? Okay, we just had to get some science, too. Because there's still plenty of science, and afterwards I put another craft down. I have more science after this. But that way we can get a little bits of stuff back, because there's no way there's going to be a return trip. There's absolutely no way that I'm going to be able to get Bob off this planet for now. But Bob doesn't know that yet. I wouldn't tell him. He gets quite upset very easily. But hopefully when I've got a little bit more practice, I can send either a rescue craft to get some back here, or maybe put it on a residential module so they can all live happily here on the moon forever and ever. And I know where I want to put my flag. It's right on that rock. Let's see if we can do it. Jump, Bob! Jump for joy! And wow, he actually went right through. I guess it really is Radical Larry. Bob, you're a wizard. What sort of demon magic is this, Bob? What are you smiling about? That you can phase through solid matter? I would be smiling too, if I could go through rocks, you lucky devil, Bob. Of course, this is our second plaque on the moon, but let's give it something meaningful. Well, the rock is not solid, so I guess that's pretty nice. What do we call the gas rock landing site? Okay, it's not creative. Sue me. And we're gonna write this site marks the I make multiple misspellings here, and of course I correct them right away. But how embarrassing would that be when they're putting the plaque on the moon if they have a typo? Like for all eternity, that plaque is there forever, and for millions of years, anyone who comes by that planet is gonna see you misspell your. Like that would be probably one of the biggest embarrassments of all history. But here we are, ready to transmit our science back. And I know I'm not going to be able to have a return trip, so I'll just transmit what science I can get back anyway. But we made it to the moon, everyone! We were actually able to do it! And it's all thanks to Bob Kerman. He may not be a genius like Jebediah, but he did it good enough, even though he's a scaredy cat. And more likely than not, he's probably going to die on the moon, so there's not much we can do for him. But I want to thank everyone for watching, and I hope I can put up more Kerbal Space Program videos soon. This is Actual, signing off, and hey, I can see my house from up here. Look at you, Bob. You're awesome. You know you are.